"Who the hell is firing?" The SEAL commander's voice snapped across the radio, sharp with panic. As another operator collapsed face first in the dust outside the Afghan town of Haro, the platoon was blind 30 rifles clawing at shadows for a ghost they couldn't see, beneath 3 feet of irrigation water. Staff Sergeant Maya River Tallbear had been waiting, motionless, breathing through a closed-circuit rebreather, her rifle sealed in a waterproof sleeve, her body pressed into the mud until the canal itself felt like a coffin. She'd been there for 3 straight hours, patient, silent, deadly. 890 meters away, a Taliban sharpshooter ruled the battlefield from a crumbling rooftop. He believed himself untouchable, cutting down America's most feared operators one by one. He never even heard the round that ended him. The SEALs did. A soft whisper slipped across comms target down, River 6, out, for months. Stories had spread through special operations about an unseen sniper who turned disasters into victories, a phantom who appeared only in whispers and shell casings. That night, the myth acquired a name. When the truth surfaced, disbelief followed. The ghost who saved an entire SEAL platoon wasn't a Delta legend or a SEAL prodigy. She was a 28-year-old Army staff sergeant, a woman. Weeks later, inside the Joint Special Operations Command at Fort Halcyon, Virginia, River stood in her dress uniform, medals catching the light, hardened eyes, young face. She'd been pulled from teaching at the Army Sniper School to answer a question far larger than marksmanship, because for JSOC, her record raised a dilemma no one wanted to admit out loud. If one phantom sniper could outshoot their best, what else had the Army been hiding in plain sight? Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold military stories. They sat in a semicircle like jurors and soldiers, both Delta operators in patched black. SEAL commanders with the tired lines of men who'd seen too many briefings. Green Beret team leaders whose silence carried more weight than any argument. 15 of them, each gaze fixed on the center table, each mind circling the same unspoken question: can she do what we won't even send a team to try? Across from them stood Staff Sergeant Maya River, Tallbear 28, compact, posture taut as a drawn bow. Her dress blues did the work of a dozen biographies ribbons from battles most Americans never heard of. The quiet bearing of someone who'd survived the unspeakable. 4 years moving like a rumor through hostile ground, embedded with JSOC. Called in only when missions skated the edge of impossible. On comms they said River 6 in hushed corridors. They whispered River like a warning. Brigadier General Thomas Halstead toyed with the file before him. 3 bronze stars with valor. A silver star pending. Confirmed engagements across Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan. A career already sharper than most men's entire service records. Yet paper never told the truth the nights face down in mud, while rounds chewed water inches away. Or the kills left off any roster because bureaucracy had no space for shadows. Maya's origins weren't classified, but they read like myth. She was raised on the Red Elk Reservation, a childhood measured not in clocks but in rivers and wind. Her grandfather, a Vietnam recon sniper, taught her to treat the land as scripture watched the grass. He'd whisper, "The wind is an honest tongue." By 14, she could slow her breath until her heartbeat matched a metronome. 4 minutes underwater was her record, though the reservation's boys swore it was longer. To her, silence wasn't a trick. It was survival. At 18, she'd rejected family expectations and enlisted in the Army with a guaranteed slot at sniper school. Fort Benning instructors expected another candidate to grind down. Instead, they found themselves staring at something that looked less like talent and more like instinct. She felt shifts in wind like others felt a chill, anticipated micro-vibrations in the soil, and turned ballistics into second nature. They had trained prodigies before. This was different. Her deployments hardened the legend, attached to the 3rd Ranger Battalion. She once held overwatch for 9 hours in a sewage ditch, submerged to her chin, before eliminating a high-value target with a single shot. The Ranger captain who witnessed it wrote the letter that placed her name on JSOC's shortlist. Operation Iron Thunder in Syria sealed it. 14 consecutive hours anchored in the Euphrates, water lapping at her cheek, while a Delta squad clawed its way through a bullet furnace. 7 confirmed kills that day, including a 240-meter shot with a 338 Lapua that skeptics still argued was impossible until the video replay silenced them. The folder closed with a heavy thump. Halstead leaned forward, light carving his features into hard planes. We have a situation. One of our own trainees has gone rogue in Gulistan province. 32 contractors seized. He knows our doctrine, our playbook. Every move we make, he can predict. The silence snapped taut. The faces around the table weren't shocked, only calculating the body count of a failed rescue. Maya's voice slid into that stillness like cold steel. 2 support. My rifle. 12 hours prep. No helicopters, no breach. I'll get them out without turning Gulistan into a funeral pyre. Halstead's stare lingered. If it fails, it won't. She cut him off. I don't fail. The men shifted, uncomfortable not at arrogance, but at certainty. Then Halstead dropped the last weight among the hostages was the Secretary of Defense's niece. 72 hours. The air thickened. By the time the meeting adjourned, one truth was clear: they could keep treating her like a ghost, or admit she was their only chance. The satellite imagery spread across the table looked like a wound, a compound the size of a small village. Canals lacing the dirt into a spider web. Guard towers like infected nodes, where others saw farmland. Maya saw geometry lines of fire, probable blind spots, choke points no textbook assault could avoid. Halstead's finger tapped the map. 2 elements tried already. Both were shredded. On the projection screen, a name appeared. Commander Arif Qasim, to most. A faceless insurgent, to Maya. An old scar. Qasim had trained at Fort Bragg years before. Memorizing the doctrine meant to keep Americans alive. Then he flipped the playbook and drenched it in blood. He wasn't a wild gunman. He was a mirror one that reflected every weakness of conventional tactics. Air assault, night breach, armored thrust all would play into his hands. Before anyone finished the debate, Maya spoke. What's the water temp in those canals? A Delta major barked a laugh. 62 degrees this time of year. You're joking. 4 hours in that water and hypothermia ends the mission before it starts. Maya didn't flinch. 5 mil wetsuit, thermal liner, closed circuit rebreather. I can hold effective capacity for 4 hours. Insert me before 0200. I'll be in place before dawn. 1 shot, minimal footprint. The scoffs faded into uneasy silence. They all knew she'd already proven worse conditions survivable. Still, risk hung heavy current shifts, thermal imaging, the sheer gamble of trusting one person against a fortified compound. Then Halstead delivered the unignorable truth. One hostage is the Secretary's niece. 72 hours. The calculus changed instantly. Master Sergeant Aaron Cole Mercer entered with a folder. His voice carried the weight of too many memorial services. You'll have 2 Overwatch. M110 for suppression, MQ9, ISR feed. And our best match-grade rounds. River, you're not walking this alone. Her sister's text pinged in her pocket. Be careful. Your nephew keeps asking when Auntie's coming home. Maya allowed herself one smile. Quiet and private. Promises mattered she'd teach that boy to shoot like his great-grandfather. But promises only survived if she did. The team rehearsed until exhaustion dope charts. Current models, extraction vectors, maps became muscle memory. When the arguments flared, a SEAL scoffing that no woman had ever fired at that level, Maya's reply was steady, as bedrock gender doesn't fire a rifle. Discipline does, patience does, or send another team to die. Your call. The room fell silent. Cole met her eyes, then handed over the sealed envelope coordinates. Names, contingency codes, paper and ink, but heavy as a battlefield. That night she stood on a balcony above the training grounds, staring at a river cutting through the trees. Her grandfather's words returned. The river doesn't fight the rocks. Be the river. Hours later, wetsuit biting her skin, rebreather cold against her teeth. Maya slid into the canal 2 miles out. The water folded over her like a grave and a promise at once, behind her. Cole and Ramirez set up overwatch, their optics tracing her heat signature until it vanished into the black. The MQ-9 whispered across the sky. Lights blinked in the distance, the compound asleep and waiting. Maya exhaled slow, every muscle tuned to the current. Somewhere ahead. A man who knew every SEAL tactic and Ranger doctrine believed himself untouchable. She intended to prove him wrong with a single round. At H hour, 6 hours after the briefing began, Maya River Tallbear stepped into the Afghan night. Cole's dry voice followed. SEALs are running a pool. 50 grand says you never even make the shot. She only smiled. Tell them I don't gamble on pride, only on training. At Euro 200 she slid into the canal 2 miles out. The water was black ice fed by mountain snow. Swallowing her whole, a 5-millimeter wetsuit clung to her skin. Buying hours but not comfort, behind her. Cole and Ramirez tracked her silhouette until it disappeared. Ghost 206 entering the river. She whispered. The canal was treacherous, depths shifting without warning. 90 minutes in, her core temp bled into the red, but she pressed forward until storm debris gave her a natural hide, 450 meters from the compound's heart. She melted into position, scope rising, eyes steady, 17 guards marked, every route memorized. Then Daston himself emerged at 400. Her reticle found his temple, but she held. The hostage's location was still unknown. Moments later, Cole confirmed predator feed. Northwest building, lower floor. Relief flickered as she spotted 2 guards carrying trays with 32 meals. Proof. At dawn. Daston reappeared with a camera. Execution. A contractor was shoved to the dirt, pistol to his head. Maya steadied her breathing. Range 447 meters. Wind 6 full value. Crack. The first shot cut Daston down mid-sentence. Second cameraman, third guard. The compound froze. Not yet realizing death was crawling through water. Then chaos ignited. Fighters rushed blindly. She fell into rhythm bolt. Breathe, squeeze, cycle. In 20 seconds, 5 more men collapsed. Delta and SEALs inbound. 3 mics. Cole's voice broke through. She shifted instantly to the basement, her round slipping through a narrow window into a guard's chest. Another bullet stopped a hostage execution mid-motion. Tracers tore the canal, but she let the current drag her downstream, resurfacing to drop 2 more. Then the thunder came. Blackhawks roaring low, Delta fast roped in, SEALs sealed the perimeter. The firefight was over in less than a minute, but Maya stayed locked on her scope. Because inside those walls, 32 lives still hung on a single breath. By the time boots hit dirt, Maya had already accounted for 15 confirmed kills, though eyewitnesses swore it felt like more. Not every target she marked went down to her. Some were neutralized later in the chaos, but 15 bore her unmistakable signature. When Cole dragged her from the canal, Her core temperature was down to 90°. Deep hypothermia, but her eyes stayed open. Steady, defiant. 6 weeks later, at Fort Halcyon, she stood in a conference room under harsh fluorescent light. A silver star gleamed on her chest, her nomination for the Distinguished Service Cross moving through channels. The very men who once doubted her now rose to their feet, applause echoing in a world where praise was rare. General Hayes pressed an envelope into her hand. Inside, a check for 50 grand the SEALs bet, and a note Ghost 206 teach us. We need to learn water the way you do. Later, by the quiet river near Fort Halcyon, she spoke with her nephew on the phone. Next week. Little warrior, I'll teach you to shoot. Like your great-grandfather taught me. Will you tell me about the river, he asked? She smiled at the current. The river remembers everything, but it only shares its secrets with those who respect it. That night, across special operations networks, a single message pulsed. The river wraith is real, and she belongs to us. Maya returned to sniper school. Students joked their instructor could vanish into water itself, never realizing how close to truth they were. The 32 contractors she saved later founded a program in her grandfather's name, training Native youth across the country. Maya never gave interviews, never sought the spotlight, because rivers don't boast, they endure. They remind us that true strength isn't about breaking the world, but moving within it, and in that quiet resilience lies a power no enemy can